Today I heard in church a wonderful message about change. And, one thing that really struck with me is still that, our thoughts become our choices. Our choices eventually become our habits. Our habits really eventually become our lifestyle. And our lifestyle becomes our legacy. The way we live becomes the way people will remember us. And as I look back in my life and as I look about how many times I'm asked, how was it that you were able to really change? I ponder over that and I still do today. And I'm going to tell you that change is the best analogy I can use is like remodeling a house. Any one of you ever remodel a house knows that, number one, it's going to take a lot longer than you were ever told. It's going to be a lot more painful than you ever thought. But at the end, the amazing thing about it is that the transformation will be joyful and enjoyable and it will be beautiful. And that's how our life and our change is. But sometimes a lot of people, especially some people of faith, will tell you that there's this little simple formula or a simple Bible verse that you recite and everything becomes well. It doesn't work that way. Maybe it does for you. And if it does, I'm very, very happy for you. But for me, it did not ever work that way. For me, it was like remodeling a house. For example, I remember that I wrote a paper once that I'm 21 years old. I make between $1 and $3 million a month. I have mansions all over the world. I date the most beautiful women a man can ever imagine. I have money, I have power, I got jets, mansions, helicopters, cars, and I'm miserable. I looked at myself in the mirror every morning and I hated what I saw. I hated what I had become of us. A lot of us look back throughout our lives and then we realize that, wow, I have made so many mistakes. So many thoughts I had in my head became the choices that I made. And those choices that I kept making over and over again eventually became, my habits, which led to the lifestyle that I was living, And that lifestyle became the legacy. If I die today, that is my legacy. But I struggled with that. I remember that the first time that I thought about change, the beginning was I never thought about change, but I did think about what is there more to life than this? Why am I not happy now that I have everything society tells me that once I have, I will be a happy person? Why? Why am I miserable? I'm not miserable because I don't have money. I got tons of money. I'm not miserable because I'm alone and I don't have a woman. I have lots of women. I'm miserable because I live in a little house and I want a bigger house. I'm miserable because I drive that old beat up car and I want that fancy car. Well, see, I had all that. And yet I was still miserable. Then, the day that I had the encounter that you will see in the documentary with my little daughter, when I realized that I had to save her. And it didn't matter if it cost me my life. But I had to save her. I had to do something. And I decided that I was going to change. But again, I had no clue how that was. But perhaps the only thing that I knew was that if I'm going north, I'm going to go south, east, west. The first thing I didn't know that I needed to do was move out of Miami. Miami is where I had grown up. Miami was where all my power, where everybody knew me, where I was a celebrity, where people admired and wanted to be like me, not knowing that I wanted to be like anybody but me. Then I moved over to my ranch, and then I saw a man and a woman that lived a very, very simple, humble life. And they were happy. And I saw them live in this marriage of 20 some odd years that I thought would be impossible for anyone to be happy with a woman older in their mid 40s or 50s. Yeah, that's how I thought. Maybe perhaps that's how many people think. And you know what? And I just couldn't understand it. And when I kept asking them, they had a simple answer. The only reason that we're happy is because we have an intimate relationship with Jesus. And that was so weird to me. Because how can that be? How can you have a relationship with someone you don't know when here I am surrounded by so many people I know and I don't have a relationship with? Then shortly thereafter, I decided I wanted what they had. And I said that little prayer that people say, accept Jesus with your heart and you will be in heaven. Everything will be fine. Everything, confess the Lord with your mouth and believe it in your heart. Everything will be fine. The problem with me was I didn't believe it in my heart. I didn't believe it at all. I was an atheist. I had, at the age of 10, I became to create a hatred for God because we were very happy and had a lot of money in Cuba. And my mother's only reason for abandoning, leaving Cuba and coming to the United States was to be in a country where we could worship God freely. Except the first evidence of that freedom, or the first evidence of being with God, was that she was left behind, and 11 of us were in a one-bedroom apartment, writing down what time we're going to piss. So at that moment, I thought that my mom was crazy. And I already had a little semi-indoctrination from the Communist Party that God is only for weak people that need a reason. And if anything, I was not going to be weak. I was going to be strong. So, and then I lived my whole life like that, totally devoid of any relationship or any thought of an existence of a God. And then, I went to prison and I began to read the Bible, like I've told a lot of people, first as a historical book and then as a book of morals. And, I began to get intrigued. Then I signed up for Bible college. It was the only online school. I wanted to get a degree. I didn't want to waste my time in prison. I wanted to come out better if I ever did than when I went in. But here's then where the challenges began to happen. On Saturday night was the only night that they would allow us to stay away from our cell, not go into our cell to go to sleep, and stay up in the TV room till 1 o'clock. Well, I did that. I loved it. And everyone took their sodas and their chips and whatever they wanted to drink or eat. The problem was that the program everybody wanted to watch was Howard Stern. At that time, Howard Stern was really raunchy. Talking about pornography, lesbianism, talking about all the crazy things. Imagine Howard Stern at that time, at 12 o'clock, television program. And a friend of mine who said he was a Christian and was really committed to God, he would not go in there. But I did. And you know what? Not only did, I enjoyed it. I'm transparent. The problem is that we pretend to be, and the world sees what we're not. And then, you know what? Nobody wants what we say that we have. It's a joke. So, I began to struggle with the fact that, really, was I committed to change? Was I going to be a different person? I finished my bachelor's. I got a little better. Went off to, got released and went on to do my master's. And then I was at Wheaton College, and here I was. And I was really, really struggling. I was 40 years old. This voice inside of you constantly telling me, who am I fooling? I got no money. I'm in an unbelievably cold place. Cubans don't like cold weather. And then on top of that, I got really, really sick and had nobody. And then I was struggling. Like, I got 4 kids that I have a responsibility to maintain. And I struggled with going back to Miami. Because who was going to hire me at the age of 40? If this education thing didn't work out, who was going to hire me at 40? I was a twice convicted drug dealer, head of a crime family. And I struggled with that. But at least there was this ground in me that, hey, I can't continue to make the same choices that I've made all my life. I can't go back. I got to move forward. Then I met my wife, and I began to see how she was so happy with nothing. And then, you know what? I started to tell myself, hey, maybe there is something about finding joy in nothing. Maybe I can make this. And then, thank God, I got accepted to a PhD program where I was given $7,000 per semester on top of full tuition. And then I was named among the Hispanic, doctoral students in America. And I was also given another $7,000. And then with that, I could live. And then I could borrow student loans to send and support my kids. So I found a way to make it happen. And the transformation began. And, and that was 1995. I'm recording this 2023. Many years later, 28 years later. And I'm still changing. And do I mess up? Not as much as I used to. But in those, especially from when I made a commitment to change in 1990 to now, 33 years later, I went back a lot of time. Never back to Miami, never back to my old ways, but a lot of times back to doing the things that I didn't say I wanted to do. To live the life that I really wanted to live, the life I wanted for my kids to live. And this is the greatest message that I pray my documentary, eventually a limited series, brings forth, is that, see, when we make a movie, we shoot different scenes. And if you shoot a happy scene, you think it's a happy movie. If you shoot a sad scene and that's all you see, you think it's a sad movie. Or a funny scene and you think it's a funny movie. But when you put it all together, it's a movie, and then hopefully it's a good movie. Well, that's the same thing with our lives. Our lives is a movie. It's a series of scenes that have been shot throughout our many years of existence. The good news is, the movie doesn't have to end bad. We might have made the worst choices in our life, done the worst things in our life, abandoned our families, cheated, gotten into pornography, drugs, whatever. But it does not have to end like that. We can change. And at the end of the day, our new lifestyle, we can begin to make different choices. We can begin to go back and have different thoughts that will lead us to make different choices. And then our habits will be different. Then our habits will become our legacy. And the end of the movie is the legacy we really want the world and our family and our children to see. A good movie. A movie that shows that there is faith, that there's a God that forgives. Yes, we can make horrible choices in our life. We're not defined by those choices. We can reinvent ourselves. We can be different. It's never too late to start again. The only time that it's too late is when you're in your grave or you die in bed and you just can't redo. But right now we have a chance to undo, not to redo the things that we did wrong and undo them, but to redo our life and do it differently. And leave a good legacy for our children and our grandchildren. A legacy they'll be proud of. We can become a better husband. We can become a better father. We can become a better human. We can become a better son. The interesting thing is we just can't do it all alone. A lot of times people just say, God will change me. Whoever that God is for you, for me, that God is Jesus. For my Jewish friends that I love so much, is Yahweh. For my Muslims and other faiths, it's their God, Allah, etc. Whoever your God is, He's not going to change you. Like my mother used to say, do your part and God will give you the increase. I believe that wholeheartedly. The problem is sometimes we're just too lazy. We don't want to do our part. And when we do our part, it doesn't come out the way we like it, we give up because we're lazy. But if we're not lazy and if we're committed to changing, then you know what? It becomes a we thing. It becomes a joint thing. God will help you change. He's helped me tremendously. And every day of my life, I close by saying, God, do your will in my life. I believe that with all my heart. And if I'm wrong, the day I die and I become fertilizer, it doesn't matter anyways. But if I'm not wrong and the day I die, there is a God, then I pray that I did eventually the right thing. And that when I fail, it's not because I'm not trying. It's because I'm human. But I don't give up. I'm not lazy. I'm going to work hard to bring about this change and to leave the legacy that my children want. And that's the documentary that we're making. One that's going to show, we're going to show the lifestyle. We're going to show how that organization that we created became the Medellin Drug Cartel. People think that it all started with Pablo Escobar in the 80s. Actually, wake up. It started in 76, 77 with a group that recruited me. We're bringing 600, 700, 800 kilos a month in 1977. Recently, I talked to a DEA agent who will be on my documentary, and he talks about how in 82, they had 1,000-kilo bust, and they thought it was the biggest bust ever. Well, think about it. Prior to that, they hardly even knew that cocaine existed, but yet we're bringing 600, 700, 800 kilos. I remember on my birthday, 1978, I brought in 3 loads of 600 kilos the same day because I wanted, to celebrate. So anyway, change is hard, people, but transformation is beautiful. Have faith, believe, look around. If there are things about you that you don't like, you can change them. Can't do it by yourself. Some might. I have found that I can't. And there is a God that will help you. And there is faith. And there is redemption. And there is eternity. I believe that with all my heart. And again, if it's not, and all I do is become fertilizer, well, just like you. Doesn't matter. Hope I become fertilizer over a good yielding fruit tree. I was about to say something else. You can probably imagine. But nonetheless, whatever it is, if that is all I become, fertilizer, I've lost nothing. But if there is a God, I've gained the world. And I leave a legacy for my children that they'll be proud of. I came clean with them and told them what a horrific scumbag I used to be. But I hope that's not how they will remember me. And I hope that's not how your children, your family remembers you. Think of your life as a movie. Shoot the end scene and make it a damn good movie.